I was say I am our aquaba and Mamu and a share when he was out here lucky television. Now I'm not and I reach it as here to Womanga and Mua. Former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings and Yanni baby a coy. In fact, a better Jano Ghana for be Brenano, a bomb and Ghana for Brena, it's me bomb and combo. Now come upon him to say, Obia babies, I said, Mammy dear, in him so you'll be a no more ding. Anna Kojan and I so now no damn crano. Asante him my years, just which in a one man, holding Dendia, Nanka O dear son, O Chan and Asia, and could be a poor else to say BBC, a bit me a sea sabri. It's Ghana for you, baby, sat then by a day. A mammy will cry, dear, and a can one, a dear put up of a way by a day, I'll be a baby, sir. I will say, my young shed, Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, and one more cacra. As I have a shed, and send me an new wood. Quite fast way, it's me a buy. And I couldn't drag my Rawlings, gun and Nibia Bedi and Nancy say, a cast of back could do for Mammy, we didn't see ye. Mammy and the Timmy Ma, a man in Timina, I'm not a Casai, a woman gun. 31st December Women's Movement, Mammy, a say, I'll Bob Boamano, send a buyer, and more and mark a bit me a dinner banana. I say, I can't also at me, I can be, and ma a bit me a form to my pa efra, and ma bit me up could draw, I yen almost so no, as so much me agina a year, to my media and once I can't ye and net. None boy, Ghana for beside Diana, the coon and I couldn't do my Rawlings. And mother, a Ghana man penny, John Dramani Mahama. I say, I ain't Ghana for, I never see him, then the queen, mammy, Sansa Mammy, because she was full of life. Tia then mammy say it's in the course abri. And nobody between just say, mammy, Kaki, Yaraka crazy, Yaraka to it was a short illness. Short illness, and I'm going to become short illness. Yaraka crazy, not to say, Yaraka, 8 years, and a come, mammy, I shall send round Yancy, as some the Yanko, ye, Ghana, my penny, don't dramani, Mahama. There's somebody to that.
This afternoon, I received a delegation of the children of our late mother, Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, to inform me about her untimely and unfortunate passing. I'll ask that we rise and pay a moment's silence to her memory. May the Almighty God grant her peaceful rest in His bosom. Thank you. Amen.
Lady, but like he also says, she's made an impact in politics and in society as well. You can't begin to talk about the NDC, PNDC era, her association with the late former President Jerry John Rawlings, and their contribution to democracy here in the country. I'm sure we'll be hearing so much from historians and people who have followed them closely. But this is the devastating news. This Thursday afternoon, we lost a former First Lady, a towering figure, that Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings MFA.
Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us,
a former First Lady, a towering figure, that Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings MFA.
Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us, we shall take you maybe back to the
Rawlings MFA.
Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us, we shall take you maybe back to the Jubilee House, where we're learning that some family members of the Jubilee House, the late former First Lady have made their way to the Jubilee House. Maxwell is there for us, and when we can, we shall bring you all of that as well. But we're talking about...
Yeah, I was just saying, we're just showing you her residence right now and the activity going on. Earlier, there was increased activity. I'm sure at the time when the news broke, there were vehicles trooping into the residence. We're keeping our eyes on there. Fatah was telling us that a number of people have been to the residence. He can't really tell who was there, but we are keeping our eyes there for you. So we want to go back to Parliament. Our parliamentary correspondent Asante is there for us as we talk a bit about her impact in politics.
Well, Kweku, if you can hear me, have you picked up anything as well from individuals in Parliament? And then we can go on as well talk about her political career. I mean, I will take it back to 2011 when she was hoping to be the flag bearer of the NDC. But Kweku, if you can hear me, bring me some updates if you engage with some of the members of Parliament in Parliament.
In fact, in her very heyday days as a very serious politician, she formed the NDP and she wanted to sponsor candidates to come to Parliament on the umbrella ticket of the National Democratic Party that she founded. And until her death, she did not vacillate in terms of leaving that political tradition behind. She stayed true to that because she believed ultimately that she had broken out with the now governing NDC. And as we know now, the family are going to go and inform the president or the presidency of the passing of Konadu, Agyemang, Rawlings, and ultimately we expect that this perhaps will be a state burial. One MPP just telling me now that there is no two ways about that when it comes to Konadu, Agyemang, Rawlings, there ought to be a state burial. And so we're going to get details on that pretty shortly. The minority holding a news conference just behind me on a couple of issues. As soon as you're done, we're going to go and speak to a lot of them. But because they held a very, very close relationship with Konadu, Agyemang, Rawlings prior to, or in fact, after her breaking up with the National Democratic Congress and going on to form her own political party, there are a lot of people behind me who say they are devastated by her loss. And she stood out for quite something profound. She was the first lady of the Fourth Republic, having served as first lady for at least 11 years under Jerry John Rawlings, when Jerry John Rawlings was the leader of the PNDC, proud to be transitioning to democracy and forming a new political party, the NDC, that ultimately won the 2020 the 1992 election, I should say. And we'll get some members of Parliament and get some understanding of what they make of this very tragic incident that has just befallen the country this morning. A lot of things being getting to know that Konadu, Agyemang, Rawlings had been rushed to the hospital. She was unwell, and then suddenly she has lost her life. It's a big tragic news. In fact, as soon as I entered the coffee shop, a few MPs who had arrived at the time were distraught. They were shocked that this is something that had just happened that morning, and a lot of them hoping that was way before us. In fact, at the time they told me that, and I relayed that to the news team, there were so many of them who were not willing to go to the record in terms of what they were able to learn, because they thought this was all a hoax and that ultimately she was unwell. Because in fact, there are those who are telling me now that the record that she hasn't been very well has been very known to them, and they knew that she wasn't very well. And so having heard that she had been rushed to the hospital, they expected that some good news will come out of it. There have been a couple of events in Parliament, in particular since the start of this year, and she's such a regular attendee when it comes to national state events in Parliament. Whenever the budget is read, if anybody is not there, Konadu, Agyemang, Rawlings will be there. When the president comes to present the State of the Nation address, she's there. Every ceremonial event, and she will be there because the former President Rawlings is not there. She represents the family, she represents the former family very well. She also had a daughter who serves in Parliament, Senator Agyemang Rawlings, who's been serving for quite some time now, the MP for Konadu. So she has such a unique tie to Parliament, although she herself never did anything in terms of elective politics. Prior to 1992, for a long time she was head of the 31st December movement. The husband was elected president, transitioning from military rule, became first lady up until she contested for president in the 2008 election when she broke away from the NDC. Subsequently, a party contested on the presidential ticket for several times, but she wasn't the one. And because of ill health, because she has grown a little bit, and she was not involved in active partisan politics. So it's such a big and devastating loss for so many people who have gotten to this point and think that this is something that must happen. We are going to go back here and try and see if we can speak to a couple of New Patriotic Party MPs about this situation that has just happened and what they've made of this, given very tragic nature of the situation. And so when we speak to some of them, we'll get in terms of what they make of what has been a really tragic situation. So speak to a couple of them who have just gone out here to have some meetings in Alhaji Habib's office and all that. Let me bring in the
on your screen, of course, now you can see my colleague to trying to get some of the members of parliament to at least share their thoughts on this particular news that we have just been breaking to you. Yes, but a little later, we shall as well engage with Owusu Bempah, who is currently a member of the NPP, but you recall that at the time she broke away from the NDC and formed her party, the NDP. Well, I'll bring you that later, but let's take you back.
I held the press conference where you were endorsed, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. You are forming a group for that. But I want to take briefly how you heard about the passing of the former First Lady and your reaction to it.
I just heard it around midday, and we informed that it happened around 9 o'clock in the morning. We know Nana Agyemang Rawlings. I can put it quote unquote a tidy girl because of Rawlings. You know, Rawlings actually lived in Takrady. And
I've heard about the bean store.
Fantastic. Yes, 1111. So on several occasions I've met her and we've talked about Takrady. In fact, I think the last time I met her and we spoke at length was at the Takrady airport. We also know that for Konadu to come together with Rawlings, I believe that it didn't face any opposition from Mrs. Rawlings, Nana Agyemang Rawlings. And therefore, it was a shock for me to actually hear this news this afternoon. In fact, the last time I saw her on TV talking about her connection with the Asante and the funerals and stuff like that. So for me, looking at her age and how active she's been over the period, I mean, I'm very shocked that she's passed away. But you know, God gives and takes. So sometimes we don't have the power to question the will of God. We believe that it would definitely give the bereaved family.
Always yes, budget.
That's very correct. Like you know, and you know, her daughter also joined us in Parliament. When I was leaving System, that was when her daughter came to Wesley Girls. So we also the military parade she was in and stuff like that. But I believe that Nana Agyemang Rawlings had really been a force in the politics of Ghana from the 31st December Women's Movement and the way he actually conscientized the Ghanaian women to do so much for themselves. And then you also know the interstate succession law, which she championed and has become a model law that has supported a lot of women, especially that are married and bring up families. So I believe that she made her own contribution to the development of this country. That can never be taken from her. We believe that the NDC and its own party that he formed along the line will come together to give her a befitting burial and funeral, deserving of an Ashanti royal.
Thank you very much. Member of Parliament for Takrady, you've heard it. Just reiterate what some of the MPs have been telling me about a state burial and a befitting burial for someone that was more than she was a royal. She was a royal. She had such a close. I know you've just had it. I know you've just had it.
Actually, information that is confirmed, and it's a very sad loss for our dear nation Ghana. That 5 years down the lane, after losing, former President J.J. Rawlings, Nana Agyemang Rawlings is also going to join her husband with all the experience and exposure and the political astuteness. I think Ghana is a loser. I believe that this is what we'll see for now until we hear from the family. Then I believe that we'll be able to make any additional comments.
I mean, just reflect on her life. She was such an astute stateswoman. Whenever there were budgets, State of the Nation address, she always showed up. She was always involved in all national events. So, I mean, what are your reflections on the life she lived from 31st December movement, prior to breaking up with the NDC, forming NDP? She was ubiquitous. She was everywhere.
I mean, she was a very strong woman, as you know. I think the last outing I saw of her was at the funeral of the Asante Hema that I saw her, and I think I saw her at another program. I think it was a dinner. She was sitting next to former President J. Kufuor, and it was
2028 election. But a lot of them struck by the very tragic passing of the former First Lady, the first Lady of the Fourth Republic, and they are just talking to us about what a brilliant life she lived, her ubiquitousness. She was all over the place. Whenever there were national events, you will see her there in her uniqueness. For past few years now, she has stayed out of the limelight, not very controversial, not taking very controversial positions, not speaking about a lot of national issues, just attending national events and playing her role as the stateswoman that she was and she is up until this morning when she tragically lost her life. So we're just going to leave the Justice Center building. We're going to go to the Chamber building. The bell has been rung. We expect that perhaps this will come to the attention of Parliament. Maybe a witness, a 1-minute statement will be done and all that. We'll get some understanding of that, but we need to go back to the Chamber building.
Ghana Mampeni, John Dramani Mahama, and Etimi, and a quiet fast one. I say, Mammy, you will no, it's me a chair quiet fast one, a buy it, Tinia. Lucky TV, lucky group of companies in Nayaka, extra Ghana for, and Yabusia, Ghana Mine, I say, Redia, Edding, Suyako, and the Union, Yamaya.